Whenever I was in elementary school, there were green sheets. If you got in trouble, you would get a green sheet signed. And I feel silly even talking about this as an adult, but there was a list of things you could get your green sheet signed for if you were talking too much in class, or fighting with people, or acting up. You would also get one if you forgot your library book, if you forgot to turn in your homework, or if you lost your homework, if you forgot to put your name on your paper. Getting a green sheet signed seemed so monumental and not in a good way. The first green sheet sign that I ever got was in the 3rd grade for forgetting my library book on library day. When I got to school, I realized I didn't have my library book, and I was just crying the whole day because I knew I was going to get a green sheet signed. And even after I got my green sheet signed, I was still crying. It felt like my life was over, when really the worst thing after you get your green sheet signed is that you just miss 10 minutes of recess and then it's over with. I got more green sheet signs after that for forgetting to put my name on my paper, not having colored pencils. Every day that I got one, I was just crying the whole day. I felt like my life was over, and it just sounds so silly to think about this now. There was also people who got in huge trouble. People that actually got in real trouble would be sent to OCS, on campus suspension. OCS was pretty much the elementary school equivalent of going to prison. The head of OCS had a reputation at the school for being really intimidating. I would be at lunch and we would see the OCS kids walking in the lunch line to get their food with the man right in front of them. We would just look at these kids like they were walking on death row. Obviously, if you're getting into a lot of trouble in elementary school, yes, that could be indicative of more deep-seated issues that could have larger consequences if they're not addressed. But I think for the majority of the time, people that were constantly in OCS in elementary school are probably well adjusted by now. But yes, they got in trouble in elementary school. Yes, it was humiliating. Yes, they had a reputation. Yes, they seemed like juvenile delinquents. But after they graduated elementary school, middle school, even high school, that didn't matter anymore. Whether or not you got in trouble in elementary school, middle school, or high school doesn't really matter as an adult, but it seems like everything. So the point that I am trying to illustrate by sharing this is there are moments that just seem so catastrophic whenever you're in the moment, but then eventually you grow past that point. You have something to talk about. You could say, I got into a fight with somebody in elementary school and I ended up getting OCS, and I cussed out one of my teachers when I was in high school. In a way, it kind of makes you more interesting. Yes, it's probably going to matter when you're in high school, but it's not going to really matter that much anymore. Worst case scenario, your teachers don't write you a recommendation. Then you just go to community college and then hopefully get your act together by then and get to go to the school you want to. But it just seems like there's so much fear put into a lot of us to have these experiences. I did not act up at all in school. Overarchingly, I don't really have any interesting stories because I never got into trouble. I just didn't talk in class. I did not stir the pot in any way. That felt really safe to me. I'm not advocating that you should be purposely acting up to make yourself more interesting, but I'm just saying I don't really have anything interesting to share because I didn't want to get into trouble. Getting into trouble or having humiliating moments seemed so catastrophic, but now as an adult, those moments would not have mattered to me anymore. Even as an adult, there's so many fears that just seem insurmountable. Things that are just really basic to some people. I'm not talking about heights. I'm not talking about really huge things. I'm talking about everyday things for some people. Avoiding those things has given me the feelings of peace I feel like everybody yearns for because I'm not constantly caught up in situations. Even since I've graduated high school, things that have happened have kind of instilled more fear in me because I don't want to be embarrassed and humiliated. And I think that's something a lot of people can relate to. I think that we feel traumatized by really humiliating, scary situations that we're in. It just causes us to shy away from feeling rejected or embarrassed or humiliated because we want to feel safe. I love having a peaceful life. And I'm not saying that I want seek out negative encounters, but if I did have more painful situations that I was a part of, eventually I would grow from them and I would have something to share. Why are we so interested in shows? Because the people are constantly having conflict, and that's interesting for us to watch. And we are able to watch those people from the sidelines. We are able to say, I'm glad that I don't live a life like that, but at least that person is living their life. Even if they have a lot of misfortune, they are experiencing life. I think a lot of us want peace. I definitely want peace. I don't really know what I'm saying in this video, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is a part of me that craves a fuller life. My life is just so boring, and I don't have really any interesting things to show for my life because I enjoy being in my safe and peaceful bubble. There's even things that I want to do. I want to enroll in karate lessons. I tried karate whenever I was in elementary school. Horrible. I hated it, and I just always wanted to do that. I think learning karate would make me feel confident in other respects, but karate lessons are expensive. People say you only live once, and so there are people that don't care how much something costs. They're going to go after it even if they can't afford it. I want to have valuable memories too, but I'm worried about spending $200 on karate lessons. A rational part of me wouldn't allow me to do that. Making rational decisions make you boring, and what is the point in being so rational? What is the point in making smart decisions? Worst case scenario, you end up dying, which is what everybody's going to do anyway, regardless on if you have financial security your whole life or if you live your whole life in debt, buying a bunch of experiences that you can't afford. The outcome is going to be the same for everybody. There's sometimes where I think, what is the point in being so rational just so you can have temporary comfort for a life that's going to end eventually? Why not just throw caution to the wind? I could literally go right now and go skydiving if I wanted to right this second. I don't actually know how much skydiving costs, but I'm assuming it would probably cost a lot of money, and the rational part of me knows that I want to save money so that I can hopefully have experiences later on. But I think that's what a lot of people say to themselves. They want to wait until they have enough money saved up so that they can do this thing and then spend their whole lives working and saving money. And then they're in their 60s, and that's when they finally get to do all the things they wanted to do. But you don't even know if you're going to be alive in your 60s. Even if you do end up living until your hundreds, then what is the point in living that long if you have absolutely nothing to show for your life? What is the point in living to being 90 years old if you didn't do anything for the majority of your life? I feel like there is a price to be paid for living an interesting life. I don't think living a full life comes without some level of discomfort. That's really difficult for me to reconcile because I gravitate towards comfort. I gravitate towards rational decisions. That's something that's really hard to break out of once you're so immersed into it. In some respects, that's a good thing because I think that I have made wise decisions that have set me up for success later on down the road. But then I'm also kind of thinking, what is the point in having success if you're living such a repetitive life? The outcome is going to be the same for everybody regardless. Of course, I don't want to get to the point where I'm out on the streets or anything like that. Those of us who feel like we're doing more conventional things, you're not really living. Sometimes I just want to be like, screw it. Screw classes, screw responsibilities. I could take a flight and go to Paris if I wanted to. You're not going to die with your money. You're not going to die with whether or not you made the right decisions all the time. Going back to when I was in elementary school, I wasn't one of those people that looked like they were walking on death row. But we're done with elementary school now, and there's no reward for who got OCS the least amount of time. We're done with that. I have no significant advantage from not being in trouble. A lot of us need to start living. Our culture is so stuck. Everybody is just glued to media and technology, immersing ourselves into worlds that are not ours. It makes us feel like we're living life when we're not actually living life. It's one thing to watch somebody go through something in a movie. It's another thing to actually experience that firsthand. It's easy to envy people who seem like they have just a more exciting life than you, but I think there's something to envy about almost anybody. My life is going to be my life regardless of what it looks like. If you're There's always going to be things that I don't like, things that I do like. I have the rare opportunity to be alive. Think about the odds of even being alive right now. I don't want to live my life in fear. At the same time, I want to value peace and ease. So that's going to be it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any thoughts about what I've been talking about, please feel free to respectfully leave your feedback in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys super soon in my next video. Peace.